Friday, February 25th, and war is at our doorstep. Once again, we turn on our phones, our computers, and our TVs to see war on the screen. We see families on the streets, parents holding their children, the injured, the destruction. Something I've thought about a lot throughout the past couple years is edification. I'm not convinced we're any more civilized than we were 1,000 years ago. We've definitely made advancements in a lot of areas, so before we take a look around the world, I wanted to let you know about something I read yesterday. I came across an article in the advisory board about MS. I know a couple people with MS, and both are really important members of my circle. If you're not aware of MS, then listen up. Turn up those earballs. Shout out, Artemis. It's called multiple sclerosis. Simply put, a disease in which the immune system eats away at the protective covering of nerves. MS causes nerve damage disrupting communication between the brain and the body. Multiple sclerosis causes many different symptoms, including vision loss, pain, fatigue, and impaired coordination. The symptoms, severity, and duration can vary from person to person. Some people may be symptom free for most of their lives, while others can have severe chronic symptoms that never go away. Physical therapy and medications that suppress the immune system can help with symptoms and slow the disease progression, per the Mayo Clinic. Multiple sclerosis, or MS, is a chronic disease affecting the central nervous system, the brain, and the spinal cord. MS occurs when the immune system attacks nerve fibers and myelin sheathing, a fatty substance which surrounds and insulates healthy nerve fibers, in the brain and the spinal cord. This attack causes inflammation, which destroys the nerve cell processes and myelin, altering electrical messages to the brain, per Johns Hopkins. So, new research published in the Science and Nature suggests that Epstein-Barr virus, EBV, an infection contracted by more than 90% of adults, may be the leading cause of multiple sclerosis. Kim Tingley reports for the New York Times Magazine, and she says, typically, people contract EBV during their childhood, and it spreads through the body fluids, most often saliva. When young children are infected, they usually develop symptoms that closely mirror a cold or a flu, if they even show symptoms at all. When the infection occurs after puberty, it often results in infectious uh, monoclonal nucleosis. Let me say that again for you. When the infection occurs after puberty, it often results in infectious monoclonal nucleosis. Sorry, I do struggle with speech. It's funny that I'm trying to do this because I do have that struggle, but it's something I really want to do, and it's something that I really want to try to overcome. I've been ADHD and dyslexic my whole life, so certain words give me more of a hard time than others. So bear with me over time, but please support me. Even people with ADHD and dyslexia want to do things like this, so please don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. But anyways, MS is a disease characterized by extreme fatigue, sore throat, fever, and swollen lymph nodes in the neck. Symptoms that can last for weeks and even for years in chronic cases, Tingley writes. EBV enters cells at the back of the throat and then invades B cells, a type of white blood cell that produces antibodies. Then, the virus replicates in some B cells, making proteins that can be recognized and subdued by the immune system. However, it can remain dormant in other cells. According to the research, EBV produces proteins that mimic a protein in the myelin sheath, which is like the insulation around your neurons, which the immune system creates antibodies to attack that virus. They also attack the myelin, like electrical wires. If the insulation gets stripped off, it short circuits. That's what results in MS, the protein mix-up. But this can only account for around 25% of MS cases, Tingley writes. Notably, she writes that the discovery of EBV as a precondition for MS raises the prospect that a vaccine could prevent the disease, as well as other serious conditions, even if we never understand precisely why the virus behaves as it does in a given individual. Previously, the link between EBV and MS had been viewed as controversial. Popular interest in vaccine had been lukewarm, according to Hank Balfour, a professor of laboratory medicine, pathology, and pediatrics at the University of Minnesota Medical School and the principal investigator of the Mono Project. This sounds great. They're on the right path, and someday they'll figure this out. So humanity is not all that bad all the time. Like today, we really need to remember not to lose hope for a better tomorrow. So as we dive back into the RooneyBin and take a look at what's going on around the world, do not lose hope. We have a lot going on in our world, and it doesn't feel right to talk about much else today. Per ABC News, Eric Ortiz, President Joe Biden unveiled new sanctions against Russia on Thursday in response to President Putin's decision to invade Ukraine, and said that collectively they will be more consequential than one of the strongest single options he could seek. Biden stopped short of announcing the U.S. and its allies would impose a harsh financial penalty against Russia, kicking them out of SWIFT banking system, but said such an action may still be on the table as the crisis unfolds. So basically, Biden was saying they're considering kicking him out of SWIFT. SWIFT is a banking system. If you're not familiar what SWIFT is the Society for Worldwide Intra-Bank Financial Telecommunications, or SWIFT. It's a cooperative of financial institutions formed in 1973 and headquartered in Belgium. It's overseen by the National Bank of Belgium in partnership with other major central banks, including the U.S. Federal Reserve System, the Bank of England, and the European Central Bank. But SWIFT is not a traditional bank and does not transfer funds. Rather, it acts as a secure messaging system, and it links more than 11,000 financial institutions in over 200 countries and territories. It alerts banks when transactions are going to occur. For instance, American banks have a unique SWIFT code that customers use for incoming wire transfers in U.S. dollars. So why would this piss Russia off so much? For the U.S. and its European allies, cutting Russia out of the SWIFT financial system would be one of the toughest financial steps they could take, damaging Russia's economy immediately and in the long term. The move could cut Russia off from most international financial transactions, including their profits from oil and gas production, which accounts for more than 40% of their country's revenue. Will we actually do this to Russia? And what would Russia do in response? What do they have to lose from Putin's point of view at this point? We're in quite a chess match here. Next, before I forget about China, I actually read this story a couple days ago, so you probably heard about it by now. It's definitely eye-opening, but basically the Chinese news outlets accidentally post censorship instructions on Russia-Ukraine coverage, and according to a now deleted Weibo post, Horizon News, which operates under China's state-owned outlet Beijing News, said that comments and reports deemed unfavorable to Russia or favorable to the West cannot be published. China continues to position themselves. I already made this recommendation once, but I wanted to make it again. Go read or listen to Josh Rogan's book, Chaos Under Heaven, right now and catch up on China. They've been waiting. They've been making strategic moves, positioning themselves, and a moment has arisen, and I'm nervous. He's done a couple of podcasts recently. Off the top of my head, he did one with Barry Weiss, I think a couple weeks ago. You should definitely go check that out. I think it's time that everybody catch up on China. This is something that has been in the works for 20, 30 years. Once again, Josh Rogan, Chaos Under Heaven. Next. So, Tim Pool is a podcast host and has his own platform, I think, called the Timcast TRL. I listen to Tim Tuesday through Saturday on my generic podcast app that's free. He'll stretch the truth as far as he can, I'm pretty sure. He is trying to create something like the Daily Wire, and growing his platform is crucial. So he'll walk right on that line, and I totally get it. So, as long as he's staying within the truth and within the lines, I'm pretty much okay with it. But recently, he brought up cyber warfare and a lot of other stuff like high-ranking members of the U.S. government leaving D.C. per his sources. I'm sure cyber attacks have and were already happening. We have the ability to basically shut down their infrastructure. Some have suggested they're attacking us as well. I definitely think this is something that we should keep in the back of our minds and pay attention to, even as we are using our computers and our phones throughout the day. Tim Pool also went on to remind everyone about the New York Times' involvement with Iraq and thought he made a good point. He claimed that doctor pics that are not real are already circulating out there by the media. And I mentioned on my special edition yesterday that I thought the media was going to make a lot of money on this, and I have to say, this is fucking sad that war's not enough anymore. That they have to doctor shit up to get your views, to get your clicks. Probably why I'm not getting much attention. Kidding. But, you know, this is really messed up. And they're really trying to elicit an emotional response from us. And I had one yesterday. I did see pics of people who have been injured severely from the Russian attacks. And if it turned out that some of those were fake, I just find that incredibly unacceptable. And whoever did that should be fired. And we really, really need to hold our media to higher standards. Everybody's all upset about Joe Rogan and holding Joe Rogan to a higher standard when it's his guests that come on the show and say all the things that you get upset about. He's just giving people a platform to say what they want to say what they think is right, what they believe, based on the research and the data that they have. So I really hope that these pictures aren't being doctored. He also said there's videos too. So just be careful. Pay attention. Double check everything you see right now. When we're looking at pictures, we cannot have those emotional responses either. We must keep our perspective. And like I said yesterday, that might mean letting Ukraine go. Will Putin go beyond Ukraine? I mean, probably, but we're going to have to wait and see. It's 2022, and I think it's safe to say if all-out war breaks out, it won't be like any other. And yeah, they say that about every war, but this time we have the biggest, baddest players in the game. I think Putin wants to make history. His country's economy sucks, but he has a lot of weapons and a lot of gas to fuel those weapons. He's the type of guy who wants his name to be remembered no matter the cost. As soon as he started building a relationship with China, he started planning his rise. So keep your heads up, keep your eyes open and your ears perked. On your way into the weekend, remember, don't eat too much. Get a workout in. Go for a few walks. Breathe fresh air. Get some sleep. Monday through Saturday, YouTube and Rumble. Jay Rooney Show.